This is the DAR Today Podcast, and I'm your host, Brooke Bullmaster Stewart. Well, I am here near Charlotte, North Carolina, as we gather footage and interviews for next week's episode, where we talk all about the celebration, the 250th anniversary celebration of the Mecklenburg Declaration. But that's next Monday, so be sure to stay tuned. But I have to tell you that as the Wright administration comes to an end on that last day of this coming up Continental Congress this summer, it has been my great honor to be the host of this DAR Today podcast, to bring you stories and interviews and talk all about what the DAR is doing today. The gifts that you all have sent, the cards, have been met with such thankfulness and sometimes even tears. I just can't even tell you how much I appreciate it. Now, I've just got 5 more episodes with you all, so we'll continue in those episodes to bring you news about what the DAR is doing, what the Wright administration has done throughout these 3 years, and I'm excited to bring you that. So for this week, we will talk about an event where 4 Spokane, Washington area chapters came together. They do it every year, and it's an amazing event that they hold, and I can't wait to bring that to you. In fact, one of the chapter regents of the Jonas Babcock chapter there, RaeAnna Victor, sent us this story and some pictures, and so we can't wait to share that with you. What an inspiring thing that is. And then the Tennessee State Regent let us know about a really great event that her State Society was involved in, and I think you'll really find that wonderful. And then the much anticipated segment where we asked you all a while back, how do you podcast? And so many of you sent in pictures and videos, and so we have compiled those, and it's so wonderful to see everything that you guys have sent in. So can't wait to show that segment as well. So as you know, of course, we ask you to like, to subscribe, and to comment on this podcast and share it with your chapter members. Put it in your newsletter, the links in your newsletter. Share it with your friends. Share it on your social media sites. So that the word can get out there about what the DAR is doing today. And of course, as always, thanks so much for being here with us today. "2025 is the last year of the 50th commemorative anniversary of the Vietnam War program. 4 Spokane, Washington DAR chapters, including the Jonas Babcock chapter, the Esther Reed chapter, May Hutton chapter, and Spokane Gary chapter, along with the Spokane Sons of the American Revolution chapter, were the sponsors of an event honoring Vietnam Veterans Day that was held at the Veterans Memorial Plaza in Balfour Park. They've held this event for many years to honor Vietnam vets. I love this note from the Jonas Babcock chapter regent, RaeAnna Victor, where she said, and I quote, "All of our programs have included the Spokane Vietnamese American Association. They're one of the most patriotic organizations in the region. We recognize their members who assisted the American troops in Vietnam. Many of them had spent years in the POW camps, and some had been tortured and escaped with only their lives to get to America. Each year, they put yellow roses of friendship on our Vietnam memorial and bring them and hand them out at our ceremony." She continued, "Our keynote speaker is usually our congressional representative or a high-ranking Vietnam retired member. We call up each member who has not yet been recognized and present them with a certificate, their lapel pin, and a packet of memorabilia. Since the program began, we have presented over 50 Vietnam programs and recognized over 700 Vietnam veterans," end quote. What a wonderful tradition these Spokane area chapters have, such a great example for us all. Now, over in Tennessee, I was recently speaking with the Tennessee State Regent Emily Robinson. A monument entitled "To the Heroes of 1776" has stood in Nashville, Tennessee since 1910. The monument was erected by the Tennessee Society Daughters of the American Revolution and was restored this year, 2025, as a project of Tennessee Society State Regent Emily Robinson. As I mentioned, we recently got to speak with her, and she told us about the history and the efforts of this great restoration event. The monument itself was suggested as early as 1901, and at that time, Tennessee chapters spent 10 years raising funds. Tennessee State Regent at the time, Louise McCrory Spencer, renewed enthusiasm for funding the monument and negotiated to have the stone donated by the Meadow Marble Company in Knoxville. Susie Gentry, founding member of the Old Glory chapter, led the efforts to identify Revolutionary War patriots buried in Tennessee. Her research, now housed at the Tennessee State Library and Archives, was gathered through DAR members, pension records, and newspaper appeals. Originally dedicated in 1910, the 12-foot Tennessee Marble Monument features a bronze bas-relief of the Revolutionary War soldier and the inscription, "To the heroes of 1776, not dead but living in the deeds such lives inspire." A large bronze plaque on the reverse lists the names of the nearly 400 patriots. The rededication ceremony on Thursday, April 24th of this year was originally scheduled to be held at the monument on the grounds of the Davidson County Courthouse, but due to inclement weather conditions was relocated to the Marriott Cool Springs, where the Tennessee State Conference was being held, because of course, very seldom does weather keep the DAR down. The ceremony featured patriotic exercises by the Tennessee America 250 Committee and the Tennessee State DAR Page Color Guard. A patriotic wreath, intended for placement at the monument, was instead displayed at the podium in tribute. Tennessee State historian Dr. Carol Van West offered remarks, and State Regent Emily Robinson shared the monument's history. Another sparkling example of how our DAR Society is preserving our American history, educating their communities, and inspiring a sense of patriotism in our great nation and its patriots. One of the things that I think has been the most fun to learn, whether for myself or anybody on our DAR Today podcast committee, is to find out how it is that different people listen to and watch the DAR Today podcast. We all fit things into our busy lives where we can, and enjoying a podcast is no exception. And for those of you who are still saying, "What's a podcast?" Well, it's basically a show, except this show is about DAR. But we wanted to ask our members what they're doing when they listen to or watch the podcast. We got some really fun responses, and we're excited to share them with you.
Hey Brooke, it's Lynda Richardson. I'm with the Sergeant Newton chapter in Covington, Georgia. I listen to the podcast while I'm walking on my lunch hour. Thanks.
And Susan Galloway from the Chickamauga chapter in Tennessee sent a fun selfie saying, "I listen as I run my errands in my car. I love DAR Today." And then Kristen Johnson from the Old Spanish Trail chapter in Nevada sent the most adorable photo of her curled up with her puppies, saying, "I watch the podcast on my iPad after work in my recliner with at least one and sometimes 3 dogs on my lap with my comfy electric blanket." While Connie Huey, the regent of the Port Tobacco chapter in Mississippi, said, "I usually watch the DAR Today podcast on Mondays while sitting at the front desk at Maryland Veterans Museum at Patriot Park in Newburgh, Maryland. I work there 2 days a week." And she sent a great photo of her with her beautiful smile there at her desk. Kim Tennyson of the Joshua Stevens chapter in Florida sent along a photo of her at her laptop with her cozy DAR blanket as she watches the video version of the podcast on YouTube. And Susan Hutchison Johnston from the Coshawty Trace chapter in Texas sent along a great photo of her dog out at the park saying, "I'm at the other end of this leash. I listen while I walk my golden retriever, Maggie, around the neighborhood on Lake Conroe, Texas. Or maybe she's walking me."
Good morning. Every morning I go into my back room and I work out on my treadmill. And on Monday mornings I watch the DAR podcast.
Christy Partee recently wrote, "I listen during my morning commute on my way to work." Christy is the chapter regent of the Richard Bard chapter in Texas. And Valerie Kraft from the Philadelphia Wind chapter in Georgia sent one of the best comments, I thought. She said, "I listen on my drive to work. At 1.5 times speed, it fits my travel time exactly. Well, I responded back to her that I bet my voice sounds hilarious at 1.5 times the normal speed. But did y'all know that you could do that? If you really want to listen to something that's, say, 10 minutes long, but you only have about 8 minutes, speed it up. Make it work for the time that you have. And next we'll hear from Alicia Firstbrook Stott, who is ambitiously recording this while she's jogging.
Hello, I'm listening to the DAR podcast. I just heard Catherine Walker West speak. She is a KSAR member. Of course, you know how awesome she is. I am a teacher, and I am on spring break down here in Florida. Sorry about the wind. I am a member of the Polly Ogden chapter in Manhattan, Kansas, and I'm actually training for my 3rd Boston Marathon. Thank you for letting me listen and train along the way. God bless.
Hi, my name is Dorothy.
And I'm Elizabeth. And we like to podcast in our car.
No matter how you listen, where you watch, we're so glad that the DAR Today podcast has been such a learning tool for so many and such a fun way to see what the DAR is doing today. We leave you today with this quote by Theodore Roosevelt. If you could kick the person in the pants responsible for most of your trouble, you wouldn't sit down for a month. Isn't that the truth? Well, thanks for listening and be well, dear friends. Let's celebrate the stars and stripes forever and remember, with all of your ancestors behind you, you are the result of the love of thousands. Well, this podcast was written and produced by our incredible team of writers and editors, and we are, as always, so grateful for President General Pamela Edwards Rouse Wright and Historian General Suzanne Heskey for their constant guidance. To Emily Robinson, RaeAnna Victor, and Lynda, Susan, Kristen, Connie, Kim, Susan, Kathy, Christy, Valerie, Alicia, Elizabeth, and Dorothy for being so generous with their time. The National Society Daughters of the American Revolution is a nonprofit, non-political, volunteer women's service organization dedicated to promoting patriotism, preserving American history, and securing America's future through better education for children. Members are all lineal descendants of those who supported the cause of independence in the Revolutionary War. For more information, please visit dar.org. This is the DAR Today Podcast.